Anxiety and depression just globally are rising. There's might be a lot of AI-induced anxiety, but just in the past few years, we've seen anxiety and depression in particular rising in incidence rates around the globe.
How do you assess how much we should invest per employee on benefits outside of your table stakes of medical, dental, and vision?
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
We are back. We just finished my panel. It's the 3:00 hour here over at Transform on day one. I'm Adam. This is Dave Hanrahan from SolarWinds. How you doing?
Hey, Adam. Good. How are you?
Cool. What do you guys do with SolarWinds?
SolarWinds. We are a B2B software company, not a SolarWinds or a wind company. We do IT observability management. So IT teams use our software to monitor their whole stack of tools and what's up, what's down, what has issues, etc.
Cool. How long have you been with the company?
About a year and a half. Yeah. So, and we were acquired about 2 weeks after I started. So that was exciting. So we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of our acquisition. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
How many employees?
About 2,100 employees.
Wow.
Around the globe.
Around the globe.
Around the globe.
So how much interaction do you have every day with the global workforce?
I try to have a lot of interaction. I have a global team myself. So I have team members in Cork, in India, in the Philippines, in Poland, and around the US. And like last year, I got out to a lot of the offices. So I got to see a lot of them up close in India and the Philippines and such. So
how is that on a personal note, getting out there and seeing the world and how people live and interact?
it's, you should do it. And like when I'm there.
Yeah.
So when I'm there, it makes it all worth it. So I think you can really only understand the site culture when you're up close and interacting.
And there's so many cultural nuances too, and especially when it comes to hiring. How involved are you in the day-to-day process of hiring your global team?
I approve every offer. So I see every offer. I look at the scorecards. I talk with our head of TA, Michelle, every day about our priorities. We have a lot of leadership searches going on right now, and we spend a lot of time talking about evolving skill sets. So should AI fluency be a new skill set that we're assessing for everyone? We talk a lot about systems thinking and analytical orientation. So I spend a lot of time on TA.
Okay. And for everyone out there, just to level set, what's your function within the organization?
So I lead the people success team. So I'm SVP of people, or the chief people officer at some companies, what the title is. And so I report to the CEO. I sit on the exec team. And so all things people, which includes workplace.
Okay.
So
Well, let's talk a little bit about workplace. And it's actually interesting because we haven't shared this perspective. Compensation, and keep me straight here, it's level set to regions of the country.
Yes.
And always doing your best for your people in that country.
correct.
Generally speaking, because we haven't really talked about this, how do benefits work around the world? Give us some examples. Like, let's just kind of level set. Like, in India, is there like healthcare versus the Philippines? How does health and wellness benefits work in other countries?
Yeah.
We really don't talk about this too much.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're spending a lot of time with our team in India and the Philippines looking at adding some sort of transportation type of benefit.
Okay.
Because if you've been to Bangalore or Manila,
Makes New York look like a cakewalk.
just the traffic is insane. And so something like that matters to our teams there a lot more than something, that we might talk about in the US. I think we all like gym benefits, but really, certain things will take higher priority depending upon your location. One thing I'm talking about tomorrow is mental health. And we do also have a global benefit. We have a mental health platform, on-demand therapy, which has been a pretty universal benefit that all sites.
And it pays dividends too. But let's talk about, I want to double back to travel for a minute, but let's talk about mental health.
Yeah.
One of the earlier problems when companies started offering mental health was anonymity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you feel like you're going through HR, they're going to know Adam or Dave has got an issue. We gotta keep an eye on this here. But when using a third-party platform, and Overall does a great job with that too. How important is that communication process, and what are some of those best practices to communicate it and drive usage and adoption?
Yeah, I think usage actually can be a challenge because for exactly that thing that you mentioned, but also just on a personal level, just kind of opening up and like being open to therapy itself is a bit of a universal challenge. But I think privacy on the platform and making sure we reiterate that these are confidential, that we don't have any access to this. I don't have any access to what's happening in that platform or individual.
You can kind of just see utilization numbers.
I get to see, are we using it? I might get to know about sort of like what is the top theme, so like stress or burnout or whatever.
Those are the qualitative info that you need as a people leader to see what needs to be adjusted. Maybe then afterwards you see a high indexing on stress. Maybe we need to figure out where we need to go deeper and make it a better case.
Yeah, and anxiety and depression just globally are rising. There's might be a lot of AI-induced anxiety, but just in the past few years, we've seen anxiety and depression in particular rising in incidence rates around the globe. So that's one of the main reasons why we think that's an important benefit to have.
And just out of curiosity, like when these systems are structured, are they based on a pay per employee, pay per use? Like how do some of these benefits work? Or is it more of a blanket, like you're just paying for everything based on the size of the organization?
Each person has an allotted number of sessions. And we keep a close eye on that. If we see that more of our employees are maxing out their sessions, we might raise the number of max sessions you could have. But also through that platform, you could have access to group sessions as well, or classes. And so people kind of use it differently depending upon their needs.
Interesting. So let's go a little bit deeper. Something else we don't talk about from a leadership perspective, when you're looking at the benefit, the cost benefit analysis, the ROI on it, how do you assess how much we should invest per employee on benefits outside of your table stakes of medical, dental, and vision?
Yeah, I think you could take there's probably
math behind it.
Yeah, there's local benchmarks, in terms of healthcare, but also like what is your total cost of benefits through the total compensation package? Is it roughly 20%? We can look at those different numbers and look at that globally, but also locally. So
I want to go back to the transportation thing because this, like, my eyes lit up a little bit in my nerdy people management kind of way. You think about meeting your employees where they are on their hyper-focused, what are their challenges every single day? So in New York, for example, I remember when I was working corporate side in New York, we get commuter benefits, or you get the contributions towards that too. How are you approaching this in India? A little bit different. How does that work?
A little bit differently, yeah. So we don't have any global transportation benefit. So it's been taking us a while, but we've really engaged the local teams to understand what are different companies doing. Are they doing something like, access to Ola Cab, and just having a subsidy there? Is it more about a dollar amount that we just put into your total package?
And then they figure it out.
So, and even India and the Philippines are a little bit different too. So
interesting. So as a people leader, how much time do you and your team spend personally, like fielding a lot of questions that could be either automated or off-border to a third party? Like, are you getting a lot of, and not just new employees who are trying to navigate, but like people that have been there for a little bit. Okay, how do I navigate my wellness? How do I navigate dental or vision?
Yeah. So it's funny. We just went through the U.S. Open enrollment process, and we did our renewal last year. And we have a benefit lead in the U.S. Her name is Na, and we had a thread in Teams where open enrollment, all the U.S. employees could just ask questions. And you'd think that a lot of those, they want to ask it privately, but for some reason, a lot of our U.S. employees just wanted to ask the question openly in front of 300 plus people.
Oh, wow.
And Na would respond to each one of them. She'll respond to you privately, but also we have a lot of employees who just want to ask it on behalf of everyone. Hey, how does this work? What does this change mean? So.
What if your employees had one central hub to handle real life? Meet Overalls, a smarter way to support your team, combining expert life concierges with AI to solve everyday challenges across healthcare, caregiving, benefits, insurance, finances, life administration, and more. From start to finish, Overall handles all of the details, using existing benefits where they fit and filling the gaps where they don't. So employees save time, reduce stress, and stay focused at work, while employers boost engagement to get more value from their benefits. Overalls was just named to Fast Company's 2026 list of the world's most innovative companies, ranking number 7 in workplace category and earning a spot on the Small and Mighty list. Founded in 2021 and based in New York, Overalls is redefining how work supports life, helping employees from Reddit, Patreon, Beatbox, and more cross pesky to-dos off their list every day. Find out more at getoveralls.com. Thanks.
All right, let's get into how benefits affect hiring decisions. Like in your career, and specifically at SolarWinds, if you want to get into it.
Yeah.
Is it really a factor when candidates are looking at total comp,
Mm-hmm.
right? The smart ones, like how important are those benefits, and which benefits are most important to them?
You might find with more sort of junior staff that they're not asking a lot of questions on 401k. And but they might ask more questions about food in the office. They might ask questions about the gym benefit. And then your more seasoned staff care a lot about 401k and the 401k match and access to things like the parental leave benefit, access to things where like family starting benefits. So it really depends upon the profile of the individual, but I think benefits in general, almost in every candidate conversation, they're asking a question. The benefits package, can I see the flyer? Can I talk to someone in your team about, do I have access to this day one or do I need to wait? So in every candidate conversation around the globe, they're asking questions. So it is part of it, equal to the compensation, the cash, the base, the bonus.
It's good to see that candidates are thinking more holistically. They're looking at total comp too. Let's talk, and we don't have to get specifics to your organization, just your thoughts as a practitioner in the space. I don't know how old you are. I assume we're in a similar age bracket here.
I'm getting up there.
Yeah. And listen, our parents are getting older. We have an aging population, and this thought of senior care and taking care of aging parents and companies being more open and adaptable to say, hey, listen, I got to go down to Florida. I got to take care of my parents for a couple of days. I need to find a specialist or like a nursing home for my parents.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Like employees are starting to ask, hey, how can my company help do that?
100%. So I was actually an advisor for a benefits platform that I think has just recently sold. But it was essentially an elder care platform, and the founder wouldn't like me calling it that. But that's effectively what it was. So they would hook you up with a gerontologist. And so
Gerontologist.
Yeah. So someone who's an expert at navigating the parental care, like care for your elderly parents. This was something I had to go through, and it's a little bit different than bringing a newborn into the world. Your elder care journey might last years, and there really isn't,
depends, right?
It's an unclear sort of final solution. Are we doing in-home care? Are we going to, are we
to put somebody in a facility?
So and every family is a little bit different, but having access to someone who's an expert was something in a prior company was like a really important benefit. And in particular, because of the workforce, as that sandwich generation, you're actually now, you have your own little ones at home and you're taking care of your own parents.
It's scary. I look at it too. You have kids?
I do.
I have a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I look at my parents, and sometimes like we're in the middle right now.
Yeah,
we're taking care of them. We're gonna have to take care of my parents. It's so funny. My mom, if she ever watch it, she always makes this joke. Adam, just make sure you put us in a nice home.
Yeah.
And I kind of joke about that too, but I start to think like financially, like how am I going to be able to make sure I do it for them? How am I going to be able to make sure I have the time for them? And like, I work for myself. I don't work for a corporation, but I think about my wife. She's an attorney. Like, wouldn't it be cool if her company had that kind of offering?
100%. Yeah. I believe the stat is imminently, like within the next couple of years, the elderly population, at least in the U.S., is going to eclipse the child population.
Yeah,
and
so we're about to get there.
Aging workforce, but also aging demographic in the country.
So Dave, let me ask you this: personal pain point. Anytime in your career, did you ever like need something outside of work that just wasn't provided by your company that you wish they had?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So what was that? It was that.
Yeah, obviously, what is that?
For me, it was that. It was going through the elder care journey first with my mom, then with my dad, and we had nothing internally. We had nothing internally to help with that, and that led me on this this sort of exploration as to what are the options out there for this, and I found very few. And I think this is probably a space when you think about in the past few years, mental health, fertility. Some of these things or benefits trends that were sort of like, hey, companies need to start getting serious about that. This was one just years ago, I think, it was most common for companies to not have anything on that.
All right. Well, what about like not as serious and not as large scale benefit?
Yeah.
What about like an easy benefit, like a personal benefit, something like a one-off transactional that you just think, you know what? I wish I had this resource in my company.
Concierge, like, hey, I can't. I have a lawn at home. If I could just figure out someone to take care of my lawn when I'm in Vegas for 2 weeks, but concierge services for sure are something that would be great. That would be awesome.
I was thinking about that too. I've been on the road for 10 days, and I mean, luckily my wife is home and other people like. But what if like you're on vacation? What if you're on the road and you're like, oh shoot, there was a windstorm and a tree fell and it's blocking my driveway, and now you have a resource that's part of like your employment, like looking after your whole life and giving you those options.
Yeah.
I think it would go a good value.
That's the thing that usually worries me is like what is happening at home that I just need a little bit of help to take care of.
Thank God I got the Ring cams and I can keep an eye on my house.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, keep an evil eye on everybody. So Dave, this ain't your first rodeo. You've been to a number of conferences. What's been one of those aha moments for you walking around, the conversations that you're having?
So I think a big one is on the AI front. Obviously, this year is dominated by that. But mapping your capabilities internally in your HR team and having a more of a point of view on what do we want to have, like what do we want to be agentic? What do we actually want to hand over to AI to play a greater role? And where do we want humans to have the judgment? Where do we want them to retain judgment on hiring, on promotions, on feedback, on compensation? That has been a really big focus of the conversation as a subset of this AI thread of like mapping your capabilities and having a purposeful design for what you want ultimately AI to take on, and then being clear on that within the company so that it's not a mystery.
I love it. Dave, leave us with some words of optimism. What's lighting you up these days in the world of people leadership, people management?
I think a lot. I was at a session yesterday about keeping the heart and keeping the human at the forefront of this AI evolution. More often than not, I've had these ahas of like HR people saying, "Hey, I'm really glad to hear that's been a focus for a lot of my HR professionals, as opposed to just this kind of enamored with technology and removing humans from the conversation, which might feel like the kind of is the trend when you read a lot of articles about AI is taking all our jobs." At this conference, you have a lot of HR people who hear from their founders and who hear from their CEOs about keeping humans at the forefront of important decisions and not relinquishing that to AI.
I love it. Dave, where can folks find you? Where can they connect? Where can they learn more?
LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. And that's my only social media nowadays.
Good for you. I took Facebook off my phone and I was like, good. That was the first good first step to digital.
Yeah, it was good mental health.
Dave, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.